Okay, Dennis,
Yes, Joe.
the new Bolt is out.
I've been waiting with bated breath, he says, lying to the audience.
Walk me through it. What's new?
Well, um, on the skin, a lot. Underneath the skin, not much. So, we have the regular EV, which is the same roughly size as the Bolt we all know and love. That's been out for about 3-4 years now. And along with this refresh of the existing Bolt, Chevy released a EUV version of the Bolt, which has been teased for at least 6 months, if not a year at this point, which for the more astute of you will know that that is just SUV, but with an E. So it's an electric utility vehicle. So, obviously the crossover market is very popular. It's popping. Every single automaker wants to have at least some sort of representation in the most popular vehicle segment that there is. And it's probably the best chance for any electric vehicle to have adoption. So the regular Bolt wasn't really the biggest of cars, and it was kind of a stretch to call it a crossover. So I assume that GM and Chevy took this as we should put something in the crossover market. But, looking at it, it's not really that much bigger. But we'll get into that later. So for 2022, we got a decent redesign of the Bolt, and the EUV version of the Bolt carries very similar design stylings as well. It's actually pretty difficult to tell them apart at first glance, and second glance, and third glance. The front is now much more aggressive. Chevy has followed the industry trend of very thin LEDs in the front to give a more aggressive look. They've gotten rid of the pseudo grille from the current Bolt, so that it's a much more flat and sleeker appearance in the front. The rear taillights have been updated. There's different accent pieces. Overall, I think, once again, is this just me wanting to see something new? Perhaps. But I enjoy the new look, maybe because it's simply just a new look. The styling is definitely louder and more aggressive than what the powertrain of the Bolt will allow you to lead on. But I think exterior-wise, it's okay. The interior definitely got a much more substantial upgrade. Whilst the exterior of the Bolt was, pretty decent for most people, the interior left things to be desired in terms of the quality of the materials and just overall look of the interior of the current Bolt. Obviously, we have not sat inside this new upcoming Bolt, so we can't say from experience that the materials are indeed better, but the press release did make it a point to say that the materials are better, and by pictures it looks like less super hard plasticky materials going on, and the seats to look a bit more comfortable. As usual, we have a 2-screen setup, one 10 and 10.2 inch screen in the center console with an 8-inch screen behind the steering wheel, so nothing super crazy going on with screens. The gear lever has been axed. It is gone. And instead, there are now 5 buttons that you select your own gears with. So you got park, reverse, neutral, drive, and a 5th button that allows you to engage one-pedal driving. So once again, like the exterior, the interior, it's all right. Looks pretty cool. It's decent. How you feel about the interior?
Looks more modern. Looks less cheap.
Yeah, definitely.
Think it should, right? What's the price of this?
Low 30s. So
So it was pretty. It was pretty up there in price for other stuff Chevy offers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this does put it up a bit.
So styling wise, I think it's a nice refresh. But now we get into the EUV, which, when you think about it, if I tell you that there is an EUV version of the Bolt, you're probably thinking that there's a considerable bigger size in terms of the difference between the regular Chevy Bolt and the EUV version. But the car is only really 6 inches longer and with a 3-inch longer wheelbase. And what that means in the interior is that the only significant difference in interior space is for the rear passenger legroom, which allows 3 more inches of space. But headroom, shoulder room, and hip room for both front and rear passengers is the same, essentially, between both the EUV and the regular Bolt. And additionally, even more interesting is that the cargo space is the same between both models.
Quick question.
Yes.
Why?
I was writing this article and I was asking myself that same question, and I can't give you an answer because obviously if you're going to make an electric utility vehicle, one of the things that gives a car more utility is more cargo space. But there isn't. There isn't any more cargo space. And the real difference in size, personally, doesn't really justify a separate model. The difference in sizes doesn't. It's not a big enough step up for me that I would consider it even a separate model. Certainly not a utility vehicle. And I'd still consider this a bit too small to be a legitimate crossover. I could be wrong. I didn't do the comparisons between what a Model Y has in terms of space or what a Mach-E has in terms of space, but I feel like it's a little bit smaller than those regardless. The only thing you're getting with the EUV that you won't get with the regular Bolt is the option to have GM's Super Cruise, which up until now has only been available in their Cadillac models. This isn't.
How much is it?
They didn't tell me.
Oh.
But I can tell you that it's not the enhanced Super Cruise that is found in Cadillac. So you will not get the automatic lane changes. This is the base Super Cruise, which will still allow you to drive hands-free in the appropriately mapped roads in North America, which is a little over 200,000 miles of mapped roads at this point. But I think the majority of them are highways. So you won't really be able to use this feature to its fullest in city streets. And you will be limited to how fast GM can map out more roads. But it's one of the few, I want to say, competitors to Tesla's autopilot system. So that's really the only extra, aside from the space that extra things that you'll get with the EUV. But other than that, performance-wise, it's the same car as the current Bolt, which will probably be disappointing to many people. Neither of these cars use GM's new Ultium batteries that they announced a couple months ago. They are just building on the whatever current architecture the current Bolt has. So as such, the updated Bolt will have the same 259 miles of range, and the slightly bigger Bolt EUV, which carries the same 65 kilowatt hour battery, will have a slightly lower range of 250 miles. And it's a single 200 horsepower motor with 0 to 60 of, I think, about 7 seconds. So, just like the styling, performance is just, it's all right. It's good. We've said it multiple times. We'll continue to say it. Mid 200 mile range is more than enough for basically anyone driving. But I'm sure people always expect at least some sort of bump in powertrain when they see a refresh.
What's it cap out at?
What do you mean?
What's the highest trim?
There's only one trim.
What?
There's only one battery size. So it's only the 65 kilowatt hour. And then, so I think just like the regular, the current Bolt is like that too. So one really big glaring disappointment is the charge rate, which is the same as the current Bolt, but that charge rate is only 55 kilowatts, which we're not going to sugarcoat. It's pretty bad when basically any new electric car coming out has at least 100 kilowatts minimum. So this means that Chevy says that you'll get 100 miles in 30 minutes in the Bolt and 95 miles in 30 minutes in the EUV. So it's definitely not high on my list of electric cars to take on a road trip because you're going to be waiting around, a little over an hour just to get your battery full. And then probably even more, 259 miles. Probably getting closer to 2 hours just to fill up your battery completely. So charge rate is definitely the biggest hindrance, I want to say, in terms of this car. However, outside of the charging rate, Chevy is doing some nice things. They partnered up with EVgo, and they are planning to add 2,700 more fast chargers by 2025. Like many other automakers, Chevy has an app which collects all the other charging providers into an app so you can better plan out your trips. And most surprisingly is that Chevy will has partnered with a company called Q Merit, and they will install level 2 charging in your house with any lease or purchase of this Bolt, which I think is a very, very nice gesture. But that 55 kilowatt hour charge rate is just, that's not good. That's not good. All this is to say is that, performance is the same. Looks have been upgraded. But Chevy was able to cut down the price. So whilst the current Bolt is around $36,500, the new Bolt will be $31,995 with destination fee included, and the Bolt EUV will be $33,995 with destination fee included. As always, there will be a launch edition of the car because you just can't have an electric car with no launch edition anymore of the Bolt EUV, which will include Super Cruise, sunroof, quote-unquote unique wheels, special badging, and an illuminated charge port for $43,495. And, this price cut is definitely important because GM does not qualify for the EV tax credit anymore. And there are, of course, talks of bringing it back or extending it, so this car might even be cheaper in the future. But for the time being, it was very important for them to have a price cut just, to make up for the fact that they don't get the benefit of the tax credit. It's going to be coming into production in spring, and we will be seeing it in summer. So, with all that being said, Gio, how do you feel about this update?
It's weird. GM was the first company to have the term coined after them, Tesla killer.
Mm-hmm.
The Bolt came out alongside the Model 3, and everyone assumed, this is a mass market vehicle. GM has all these dealers. They have the bigger name. Like, this is what's going to stop Tesla in their push.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was, the second best EVM, and there wasn't many.
No, yeah.
I think in between then and now, we've seen a lot of cars released.
And a lot
we've
more planned.
seen a lot of plans.
Mm-hmm.
And this might be one of the worst updates we've seen. This might be it.
Well,
55 kilowatt hour charging in 2021? Come on, guys.
I mean, it is harsh, but I feel like the regular Bolt, performance-wise, was more than adequate. Almost 260 miles of range, 65 kilowatt hour battery. It got the job done, I think. And this seems to be more like a stopgap because this doesn't use any of GM's new battery technologies or anything like that. So I don't know.
I'm still stuck on the fact that they released this EUV next to the regular Bolt. If it's the same exact car,
you took the
6
words out of my
inches
mouth.
longer, I don't know why.
You took the words.
I don't know why they'd even do this. And I know GM has stated that they're going to release how many cars by when?
30 electric cars globally by 2025.
I truly hope that this isn't the path they're going to take. I truly hope they're not just going to go, let's just stick a battery in anything that we've built.
Let's just elongate cars, and we'll consider them 2 models, and that will help us get. I mean, I hope it's not that. it's, I mean, there's obviously nothing wrong with having more options and just having like a base car be longer or larger in some way. But the step up to the EUV, at least on paper. I mean, I haven't sat in the car, but at least on paper, it seems like minuscule. Like it doesn't seem like it should even qualify as a separate model of Bolt.
Of course, and that's only to distract you from the fact that the change in model year is also minuscule. The regular Bolt to last year's Bolt's basically the same.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're damn near indistinguishable from each other. I mean, just from pictures. I mean, I had to really look. Like, the EUV has a little bit more like black trim on the front of it, and its tail lights form like a Y shape in the lights rather than like a oval in the regular Bolt. And then there's like a random chrome piece in one and not the other. I really hope they're not. I mean, it seems very like middle schoolish to be like, oh my God, we said we were going to make 30 cars, but I don't think we can make 30 cars. Let's just start making minuscule changes between cars and consider them separate models, so we don't look like, you know, we got cake on our face because we couldn't hit the 30 car mark. But you know, at the end of the day, I think like the Bolt was an okay car. It continues to be an okay car, pretty decent car. I mean, the price is pretty good. I mean, $32,000 is, I'm gonna say it again, pretty good. Especially if they rework the tax credits. This thing could be in like the mid to high 20s, which is damn good. But the biggest drawback, of course, is that 55 kilowatt charge rate. But, you know, for people that don't plan on taking long trips and actually will charge their cars overnight or at work, that's easily mitigated. So at the end, and Chevy will install your charger for you. So, you know, it's cool. It's an okay car. It's an, you know what? It's even an above average car, I want to say. For the
What's
price,
an average EV then?
I don't know. There doesn't really seem to be an average EV. They're either all below average or above average. Because the Bolt is still like, if we look from range, it's still one of the highest non-Tesla ranges in terms of EVs, and it comes as with the, I think, Nissan Leaf being the only car that would be cheaper, new EV that's cheaper than this. So, you know,
the Mach-E gets pretty close with the rebate.
Prior to rebate.
GM doesn't have the rebates.
Yeah.
They could potentially be reworked, but as of now, GM does not have rebates. Others do.
Sure. Yeah.
I think the Kona also comes in cheaper.
Kona does come in cheaper, but good luck finding the Kona. Or the Niro, for that matter. I think it's, like I said, on paper, it seems fine. The only glaring issue is at 55 kilowatt, and I'm sure people wanted an update to the powertrain, and that kind of stings a little bit that it's essentially the same car underneath.
I just don't think this deserved the teases and the hype. This is a very minor change.
Yeah.
They've been talking about their ultimatum batteries for how long? They're still not here.
Yeah, that doesn't... Yeah. It would have been, like, if the EUV had the like an updated powertrain, I would have been okay with its inclusion despite the very minuscule size difference and basically no utility increase at all. But the fact that, like you said, it's the same car, it's the same foundation, it's the same platform, it doesn't make sense. But I digress. I've been saying the same things for the past like 5 minutes. So overall verdict, it's an okay refresh. I'm not blown away. I'm not severely disappointed. It's an alright car. Good price. And good on Chevy for installing chargers, I guess.